What's up, you guys? We are going to go over Olivia Pham's meet prep and how we were able to put together a 12.5 kilo meet PR total, meet PR every single lift, and how we went about ramping into the meet and basically peaking her for arguably her best meet yet. So, I'm looking forward to covering some interesting topics in this YouTube video. All right, let's get into things. First and foremost, I want to go over her open powerlifting. Her best total prior to this meet was 297.5, which we were able to get 310 at this meet, so we got a nice 12.5 kilo meet PR. We were able to meet PR every single lift. We got 110 on squat. Previously, that was her best, and then we got 112.5. And previously, her best was 60, and then we hit 65. And then her previous best before that on deadlift was 130, and she did 132.5. This was huge wins, and you'll see she was in the 67.5 kilo weight class, and she was a light 67.5. This was on purpose because we were trying to qualify for CNAT's 65 kg. That was the main goal of this meet, was to do that. So that was the overarching goal of doing this meet. Now, I want to dive into our programming and how we were able to come out with a really solid day across the board. First and foremost, we really had these 3 blocks in which we were operating under to basically pull together this meet. The main thing I want to discuss is really how we were able to ramp into this meet and build momentum so that we really didn't need to taper at all into this meet. Bench and deadlift specifically, we really didn't taper. And then squat, we did a little manipulation week of. But besides that, we really did not do any quote unquote taper week. Her meet day landed on her week 4, which her blocks are typically 4 weeks long. This is another case of ramping into a meet and how it can be very beneficial for athletes. First and foremost, we had this first block here. You'll see trap bar deadlift. Essentially, long story short, she was in some pain. We dealt with some lower back pain that was flaring up blocks prior. With consultation with the PT that we worked with, we were able to get her out of pain, and something we decided to do for a little bit to keep her out of pain was doing some trap bar deadlift. So we did that for a while on our secondary, which really I think was the beginning of this momentum we had, which deadlift was the biggest lift that this pain represented itself with. Knowing that we were able to take this first block and get momentum, and eventually you'll see this next block do competition deadlift on our secondary, was I think a huge piece, not only physically but mentally, to creating this effect throughout each block that we just kept building wins and having little to no pain. That really came together on meet day, which you'll see her deadlift was awesome, and that was arguably, all of them were huge wins, but deadlift especially, knowing that we were dealing with pain a couple blocks prior, was a huge win. We went from trap bar deadlift on our secondary to then competition deadlift, and we just kept ramping that up. This block here, 1 block out, we did test basically a peaking strategy. You'll see this is for week 4. We moved her exposure timings around so that essentially we wanted to mimic competing on a Sunday. On this week 4, we adjusted things so that things lined up exposure timing wise. Essentially, she came out and she had a pretty good day. She had 242 for 2, so 110 for 2. A very nice deadlift, 258 for 3, and 270 for 1. So basically, all in all, things came out pretty good on this day. So we kind of knew going into the last block of prep that this formula would more than likely be very predictable and work. That's something we did a block out just to make sure we tried it. She didn't feel great on the squat day, which you'll see the kind of peaking strategies are a little bit different from this block to the next block. But nonetheless, that was this block. We switched over to competition deadlift on our secondary, and we kind of tested out a peaking strategy, and it worked out well. This last block, because deadlift kept going well, we just kind of kept that same formula, and you'll see all the way till meet week, you'll see we just kept ramping in. So absolutely no pull off. So you'll see set of 5, set of 5, set of 3, set of 5, set of 5, set of 3, and went up in load comparatively to the 2 weeks. So basically just ramped in on deadlift, and it worked out beautifully. I'll show you guys her deadlift. This was her heaviest dead on meet day, and absolutely flew. High kilos in the tank, and that was 132.5. Again, that's a meet PR. And then I'll show you her heaviest dead. This flew, so again, we were expecting a very good deadlift on meet day if all went well, but went very good. So that was a huge win, and that's what we did for deadlift. These 3 blocks that really helped peak her into meet day. Squat wise, essentially this day didn't really change over these 3 blocks, so we just had a rep set with the single and then some kind of belt squat on leg accessory work, and then our primary was on Thursday. Not much change. You'll see block to block here, we kept that day on Thursday. Now the biggest thing was squat on this block. With this peaking structure we were going to do, we had to basically find a way for her week 4 squat to feel good, not on a Thursday, but on a Sunday. This is where we had to manipulate things to kind of test out, hey, how can we make her primary squat show up like it has been on a Sunday instead of a Thursday? Well, we did this first turnaround. We kept this day basically the exact same, not much change there. and we just basically try to delay her strength on squat. You'll see on her primary squat here, we had a 1x2, 1x3, and then 2x4. So we just did a 1x1 and then a 2x3. So a little bit of reduction of workload, and we were going to test how this trying to delay the strength worked. And it worked out, I mean, pretty good. I mean, she didn't feel great, but she still hit a very solid number. So we knew like this at worst could get her a pretty solid squat. This last time around, you'll see what we did here on this week 4, week of the meet. We did a set of 5 and then a set of 1. So kept that same idea there. And then on our primary squat here, we did 1 set of 6. So just 1 set of high rep squats. We kept this thing a little bit higher comparatively last time. So you'll see right here, we did 198 for a single. And then here we did 209. So again, we kept that peak intensity higher. And then we had 192 for 6. And before here, we had 176 for 2x3. Quite a bit more workload, or in terms of RPE, like 176 for 2x3 is like dumb easy. And then 192 for 6 is still easy, but still a little bit harder in RPE. So that was the idea there, how we did the same total amount of reps last time, but RPE and like absolute load was quite heavier. So that was the goal, just to kind of peak her better. And she ended up having a pretty good squat day. I'll show you guys her heaviest squat in prep. Pretty good. Hits that sticking point. You'll see on meet day, 112 to 2.5 kilos. Even me now looking at it again, she definitely peaked very well for that meet. That worked out well. Great quality meet, looks like. She has some awesome videos, by the way, some awesome, great quality videos. So again, that's why we try to do a block out, a peaking structure, and testing it out, just so we can kind of experiment and learn from it. And we obviously learn from it. And then bench really will be the simplest, because this just was great, basically. She would do some Larson on Monday, secondary bench on Tuesday, which is pretty much a second primary day, but then some tertiary close grip, we'll get into that, and then primary bench press. So nothing changed the whole time we were benching for the 3 blocks, but the biggest key is we quite literally just kept ramping in. Everything just kept going up in intensity and really no pullback. So Larson, we obviously had to move exposures because she was competing on a Sunday, but you'll see here, this day is pretty similar, so we actually didn't go up at all here, but this day stayed pretty static within itself. And then secondary bench, you'll see she went up. The use of micros, that was a big thing we did in her programming, is utilizing micros. Great way to progress inch by inch in a microcycle. And then again, just slightly went up here, so no real pullback in volume. And then this tertiary close grip, she had a set of 3 basically right before meet day. That may seem counterintuitive to a lot of people, but it actually worked out well. Peaked her bench beautifully. You'll see her accessories, pushing RP 9, AMRAP till 8 to 9, like by no stretch of the imagination were we trying to pull off any fatigue. We were trying to just keep building fatigue, because as fatigue gets high, fitness gets high, so you just gotta find that balance where you don't get too much fatigue. And we decided that we were nowhere near that point where fatigue was going to be too high, so we kept going to keep elevating fitness, and it worked out well. So I'll show you her heaviest bench. So it went pretty well, and we were able to hit 2.5 kilos above that, which this wasn't really even, but she was feeling that good, so I gave her the green light. And her awesome handler Alex handled her very well, and it went beautifully. That was just nuts. It was a fantastic day overall. Just wanted to encapsulate in this video how basically ramping in can be very effective, and how we were able to basically slowly transition her on deadlift into comp deadlift on her secondary, and that helped build momentum over the course of the 3 blocks, and then kind of testing out a peaking structure 1 block out to make sure that the final block, where it really matters, we're able to have the best peaking process that we can possibly have. Shout out Alex for also doing a great job handling her. She had a great day. So our next meet is Collegiate Nationals in this coming April. So I'm looking forward to building an even better total then. Thank you guys for taking the time to watch this YouTube video. Hopefully you learned something cool about how we were able to peak Olivia and get her a massive PR total. Any questions, comments, or concerns, please feel free to leave them down in the comment section below. And take it easy.